I was promising to bring you in here one morning, and this morning is an ideal morning to do this. And we'll see why in a moment. Because today we're celebrating two of the apostles. And here we're standing by one of them, Judas Thaddeus, also called Judas of Jacob of James. And that's interesting because there's also Judas Iscariot, and people surmise that the reason for 2 out of the 12 being Judas is because of Judas Maccabeus would have enjoyed great fame, a national hero, patriotic hero. And here we have the other apostle today is Simon the Zealot, also called Simon the Cananean, which some interpret as from Cana. And so we have this representation here, the iconic representation of the apostles in the great Eastern tradition. Even though the lake is down very low, 10 to 11 feet beyond what we would like it to be, it almost gives the impression here that the boat's floating on the Sea of Galilee, which works much better when the water is much higher. It's interesting, we know a lot about John the Evangelist. He wrote a gospel. We know a lot about Matthew through the gospel attributed to him, Matthew's gospel. And we know a lot about Peter, obviously, the head of the apostles, of James, and then we have a second James. That was also a common name. And if Simon, Judas Thaddeus was also, his dad was James. And here we have Bartholomeus. And so we have all these apostles, and some are very well known, and there's not that much known really about Simon and Jude. There are traditions that they were both martyred in Mesopotamia, and actually martyred very cruelly, especially Simon the Zealot. And that's part of the witness of these apostles, that they relinquished their lives willingly because of their experience of Jesus and how he gave his life for us. So here we see how the light plays in here, and it's always changing and always lovely. So I think we'll go outside now that we have had this moment of luminous joy. And we'll go on the readings. You are no longer strangers and sojourners You're part of the fabric. You're part of the family. You are the living temple. This is the message of the readings today. And if the apostles are not well known, some of them are not much known about them, doesn't make them any less important. They also had a corporate role in representing God's people, the 12. This is one of their primary purposes, the call of the 12, because in the messianic expectation of the time, this was the code language. When the tribes will be reunited, when the people will be restored to its fullness. A family is not happy if some member of the family is stranded somewhere, or if some member of the family is kidnapped, or is a prisoner, or is in hospital and sick. We want the family restored. We want the unity, especially the mother wants that, the parents want that, the grandparents. This oneness of the family, oneness of the human family. That's why wars are so obnoxious or repugnant. And that was one of the great sources of distress of the chosen people, this sense of dispersion, division, conflict. When a kingdom is divided in itself, it has a much harder time sustaining itself. We are made to be whole, complete. And so the 12 have that significance, in a certain sense, more than an individual role. The primary role of the 12 is that significance, the 12 apostles. And theology and commentary speaks of the college of the apostles, this group together. And then they're very aware that Judas Iscariot needs to be replaced because there need to be 12. There's a very strong sense of identity of the church at this time, in these early phases of the experience of redemption, fulfilling that deep bond with the original 12 components of the family. And so each one of us are also members, living members, and each one is important. It doesn't matter if one is better known than the other. Many times it can be precisely the one who is not well known is having a more significant role. We've seen that verified by history. Good morning. Doing a little live stream here. We had a new group of pilgrims arrive. They'll be here for a few days. So we are members of the household of God, built upon the foundation of the apostles. This means that the apostles' role continues as foundation. In fact, we could not have contact to Jesus without the apostles, because they're the ones who experienced that mystery as that corporate reality and hand it on, also witness the strength of witness. They're the ones. And in a very true sense, many people will not, well, nobody can know Christ without the College of the Apostles, and one of their greatest witnesses is their martyrdom, and a great legacy are the Gospels. But the most important thing was that they handed on the faith to the next generation, even if the Gospels were not completed yet, even if the New Testament wasn't written yet. And that's the living handing on of the faith. And so that happens in everybody's life, in every baptized person's life. The living handing on of the faith. And the foundation that comes from that original experience of the carpenter's son from Nazareth who was walking here around the Sea of Galilee, and these fishermen get to know him. And in him is held the whole structure together. He's the one that brought these very different people together. Simon the zealot is very different than Matthew the tax collector. They're politically on the opposite end of the spectrums, and yet they're one body, one college. And how much we need that today, with so much divisiveness in our world, that this oneness accomplished through this messianic bringing together of the scattered ones, that we, in our time as well, continue to hand on generation to generation this oneness. Not a brokenness, not an individualistic faith. A faith of oneness that aspires to the oneness of the entire human family. And to bring that about, and therefore, for us, war must be even more repugnant. It must be completely against the gut instinct, if we want to speak in that language, of the baptized and the confirmed and the ordained to advocate war against another human being. We're not a people of judgment, condemnation, and destruction. We're a people who have experienced redemption, being brought together, being blessed with this unity which is for everyone. This is the great offer, the great gift. This is a redemptive gift, a gift of hope, a gift of life. And we're all growing together into a temple sacred to the Lord. Because their message of this 12 went out to all the earth, even to far distant isles, even beyond the Hebrides and Greenland and Iceland and Southeast Asia and Trinidad, Tobago, everywhere around the globe. Pole to pole. Their message goes out through all the earth. Not a word nor a discourse whose voice is not heard. And then we have the gospel listing the names of the apostles, how Jesus spent the night in prayer, asking for that blessing on them. And here this pilgrim sitting down, reading scripture, enjoying this moment. God bless you. See you later, alligators.